Deji's here with us. We've had Henry say that he would, one more game and he would sack Ange. He thinks he's been found out. How do you see life at Tottenham going if Big Ange stays? Do you think it's too early to call for him to be sacked?
Look, I'm not going to lie to you. I did say before the game that if Tottenham was to lose to Arsenal for whatever reason, that I would have serious questions of Ange. And I'm not going to lie, I sit here and I do have some questions. The first thing I would say, though, is let's not get too carried away. I see a lot of people shaking their bum. Let's put things into perspective. I've said this before. If it's good enough for you, then it's good enough for me. And in season 2, where did Arsenal finish in the league? They finished 8th. Yeah, so let's just calm down with all the bums shaking.
Incorrect.
So
Incorrect.
you finished 8th in season 2, mate. You did.
Yeah,
so
but half a season. If you want to count an 8th.
Let me do my thing, and then you have your thing in a sec. Now, on the weekend, we did domination in the location. Whether you like it or not, Arsenal had 11 men behind the ball, and they gave Tottenham respect. They said, you know what? When it comes to playing ball with this team, we're not going to be able to out-pop them in terms of possession. So we're going to sit back and let them do their thing. What I would like us to do is let's not be disingenuous. Apart from Martinelli's chance on goal, Arsenal did not have any clear-cut chances. That means the team in the main did their job. We, however, had all the ball. We didn't do our job. And I agree. I'm so glad to hear that you guys are talking about the 3 issues that Spurs had yesterday. Vicario is an issue for me. Vicarious liability. This brother, from when he doesn't want to come out, he is open for, he's just letting everybody know he's open for business. Romero has cost Tottenham 4 points. Leicester, Newcastle, and now Arsenal, this brother. He has cost us because every time Tottenham have not done their thing today, it's got Romero involved. And then the one thing why I'm doubting Postecoglou is there's a lot of smoke going on to Brennan Johnson. Some of it warranted, some of it unwarranted. It's a manager's job to protect their players. We all know that Brennan Johnson is better when he comes on. So don't start him. Just like when I saw that Trossard was starting, I knew he weren't going to do nothing. Because he's rubbish when he starts. That's just the truth. So bring them on when you know they can be effective. When the defense is tired, then he can take them on. So for me, and then the icing on the cake is he brought on Timo Werner. Timo Werner, if I see this brother in the high street, I will fly kick him in the back of his beanhead. He's so rubbish. Don't want to see this brother again. So for me, I need to see Postecoglou make some difficult decisions. First and foremost, Tottenham fans ain't going to like this. I think Romero needs to sit down. I want to see Dragerson start alongside Van der Ven because this whole lapses in concentration, he's not doing this for Argentina, but he's doing it for my club. I hate that. Apart from that, I agree with Postecoglou. We are playing well, but we're not finishing off our dinner. And I'm going to give Postecoglou a bit more grace than Henry. I'm saying the next 3 games. If we don't slap up Brentford, and if we don't slap up one of the dustiest teams I've ever seen in my life, in Man United, yeah, to be honest. If we don't slap up Man United, he needs to lose his job because that team is dustier than Tutankhamun's coffin. Apart from that, so I'm giving 3 games, and then that's it.
On the Egyptian theme, I'm going to go to our Egyptian brother here, Staffy. Do you agree with Deji? Do you think that Spurs are playing some really good football? They're just not finishing their chances? Is it as simple as that?
No, they didn't play good football yesterday. Maybe in the majority, yes. Yesterday, I cannot say that. I think them having possession was by design. It wasn't because you were too good for them. Arteta gave you the ball. He deliberately did that. What? He's like there's boxers that go into fights and they're like, you know what? Today I'm just gonna be on the defense. No one's gonna catch me today, and I'll just catch him with a late hook later in the fight. And that's what he did to you. He outsmarted your manager. It's just that simple.
Apart from that header, bro, if Arsenal don't score that header, the game's a draw. So how is that going? How is that working to plan?
Because
What do
we
you mean?
scored the
How does that
header.
work into plan? So I know there was limited chances, but as I said, that was still by design. He did not intend to open up the pitch for you. He intended to sit deeper. He intended to have that midfield sitting close to the back line. So as I said, this was by design. There was enough times that they ran in behind where if the decision making was better, they could have scored. Martinelli being poor is not really on Arteta because the tactics are working. Individual performances is not really on managers. Just like how I use that as a mechanism to defend Ainge, I'm going to use it as a mechanism to defend what's his name, Arteta yesterday. Martinelli probably squares that ball to Saka. That's 1-0 in the first half. There was one ball that got cleared off the line, I think, by Vicario Romero. That's another big chance. You had 0 big chances. They did. So factually, even though they didn't have the ball, they still created more than you, even though it was very limited.
There was also a couple of counters in the second half where, if it hadn't been for brilliant covering from Van de Ven, they were in on goal as well. So there was, again, it's that debate around chances versus opportunities, and I felt like Arsenal actually didn't execute a number of opportunities. But again, if it was 0-0. Maybe one extra player commits forward. The game it's so hard to judge a game based on.
The game is different if it's 1-0 in the first half. Of course, things change. Van de Ven, listen, I know people here rate Van de Ven highly. I just want to say Van de Ven is a very unique type of defender. The amount of running backwards that he does, I don't think I've ever seen a center back that does that. He runs backwards way too much, and it's because the manager does have him playing in a very, very high line. Some of these chances that, I don't know, like a cross in or a pass or whatever that he intercepts. Let's just be honest. Probably an average defender doesn't get these. And there's very good defenders out there that I think are world class, and I don't think they could do what Van de Ven does. Just because his pace is a bit abnormal for a player his size and in his position. So
is Van de Ven's recovery pace, because forget the AA, forget the RAC, forget AIA, he will cover every section of you. But is that sustainable? Because when
it's not. It's not. I'm just making a point to why Arsenal actually Spurs didn't concede more chances.
Yeah,
because of Van de Ven. Yeah. So that is individually on Van de Ven. It's not really on the system.
Deji, I think it's the hamstrings. I mean, one went last year, and we've all seen this over I know medical science is better now. The amount of running he does, that hamstring is probably going to go again. Once a player's hamstring has snapped 2-3 times, they do lose a yard or two of that explosive power and pace. And I think that if that goes, he's in trouble. It's as simple and straightforward as that. Not he's in trouble, but your system's in trouble, because that listen, I rate Van de Ven. I think he's amazing. But I know he's young. I just personally wouldn't want a system that works defensively if Van de Ven's pace gets you out of trouble, because when he isn't, you need a system that works beyond one player. I think it needs to be better to progress in the Premier League. You know, for City, they've lost. I know it's an attacking player, but they've lost KDB for season, almost a whole season, and still won the league as an example. That's because the system's solid, and I don't think it's just on the Van de Ven thing. If you lost Van de Ven look what happened when you lost him for 3 or 4 months. Look how many games you didn't win. Yeah, look,
I agree, but let's not forget that these players are athletes. You know, they are prime, they're specimens. This is what they do. They're professional footballers, for crying out loud. And what we're talking about is someone who has to make some recovery runs. In any game, people have to make recovery runs.
But this is abnormal behavior.
In matches. And for me, I don't, look, someone could do a bad tackle and you break your leg. What about that? You know, so for me, it's like these risks is all part of the game. So for me, that's not a risk.
I'll give you an example on that, though. But on that, if you had a midfielder who was playing suicide balls consistently to your players and they were having to do 50-50s to win it, you would be saying, take that player off the pitch, he's going to end up injuring one of our individuals, right? So if the manager's system is risking injury, isn't that the same difference?
I don't know whether the system is risking injury, because for me, in my opinion, last season, I would totally agree. I think for many times, Van de Ven was caught out. The way that we've played and the way that we've minimized the opposition's chances, when did Van de Ven in the game yesterday have to blow at top speed? He didn't need to.
Second half when Arsenal.
How many times?
He did it like 2 or 3 times.
He made 4
I'd
recoveries.
say 3 times.
No, but Deji, in a half, Deji, in a half.
Premier League, bro.
Deji, let me explain. In a half, right? In a half, for one centre back to do that for the whole 38 games, plus Europa League, plus Carabao, plus FA.
It's not normal. That's what I'm saying. It's
you guys are over exaggerating how many times it happens in the game. Van de Ven doing a quick 2-3 second burst of pace.
George,
isn't gonna cause him injury.
George, me myself, I've got bad hamstrings. I myself have bad hamstrings. If you had me sprinting like that every single game, bro, my legs going. I know it's going.
But also, you've got bad hamstrings because you bust heavy weights as well, no?
What?
Because you look like Johnny Bravo. Do you know what I mean? So if you're not doing your legs properly, do you know what I mean? You will lose your hamstring, bro. You have to work your legs. Let's be real, because you man are talking about centre backs. What about right back? What about left back? You're acting like footballers don't run.
That pace that he does.
Bro, you're acting like this is not the NFL, bro.
Was your high line? Was your high line is in your own half?
But the high line wasn't
just to break this down.
The high line wasn't exposed.
Guys, you want to put some facts here. He's had 3 separate hamstring injuries in his career now. 3 separate hamstring injuries.
And our high line doesn't help that.
How many of them were at Spurs?
You're over-exaggerating, Henry.
Two of them are at Spurs. Hang on, I'll tell you. 2 of them are at Spurs, and one of them was collectively, he has missed through hamstring injuries alone. He has missed, I'm quickly adding this up here, he's missed around 160 days of football through hamstring injuries. That's quite a lot for a 23-year-old.
Yeah, it is. But if we changed system to a degree, you probably would prevent that risk. If you drop the defensive line,
you play high intensity for 90 minutes.
I don't get it though, because if you change how high the line is, then you need to change the whole system completely.
That's what I'm saying. That's the way you prevent it.
We press at high intensity. We're going to press a back team's line, and we're going to push our full team forward in order to allow that press and to get them in their half. That means what you're going to be asking Preston and Ange to do is not press as high, not be as intense in the press, which Man City have done for so long, and you know, other teams in the Premier League have done for so long and played high line. It's never been seen as a problem. I think the reason why Tottenham's high line gets seen as a problem is because we've been caught out with it a few times. It's been learning throughout the past year.
It's a problem.
This season, of course.
George, the biggest issue is that when
if you're constantly getting caught out by it, it's going to be a problem.
We've been caught out about 2 times this season with just the high line, but it's not been due to, oh yeah, Andrew's been doing it too high at times. Oh, if you look at the Newcastle goal, we all stepped forward for the offside trap. There was a few players that didn't, and then they caught us out. Just like the way that Unai Emery's done it with his Aston Villa team, and he gets a lot of teams playing offside. It's literally a high risk, high reward. That's the way that you've got to play the game. But we're not going to sit here and say, oh, Tottenham this weekend, the reason we lost was because of our defence. The reason we lost, and the biggest issue, was because of the front line. The defensive problems are really not there. Our team at the back concede one of the least amount of shots on target on goal out of the top 6 or out of the whole of the Premier League right now. We've been with regards to the actual opportunities that we give up. Let's say just for the Arsenal game, for example, Martinelli was the only one that had a clear-cut opportunity, and that was from again a little bit of a mistake at the back. Porro again. I think all of us Tottenham fans know Pedro Porro's defending is not great. That's always going to be a hole in our back line. His positioning is all over the place. And look, you found Martinelli through, and that was the one time they went through. But apart from that, I don't feel like they broke for our lines. I don't feel like defensively we had issues. The issue literally was in the front line. And then also, off the back of that, I think one of our biggest problems is we haven't got a 6. We've highlighted how important 6s are in this modern day game, and how important it is to have a shield in front of your defense. When we have players like Bentancur, Bissouma who can play the role, but neither of them specialize there, I don't think it helps.
George, you not think Bentancur can play the role, but don't leave him on his own with 2 attacking midfielders that are a lot more advanced.
100%. But I feel like there was obviously a tactical reason as to why we went 2 attacking midfielders, because I think we wanted to take advantage of, you know, no Odegaard, no Rice, in which we did. We controlled the game. We had more of the ball. We flew through their midfield. It was pretty much non-existent at times. But again, the problem lied in the front line. The ball, we literally done so well getting the ball into the final third, getting the ball to Son, getting the ball to Johnson. But whenever the ball got to Son and Johnson, What do you expect? There was nothing happening. It kept going backwards. The ball kept getting recycled. And from a player like Son, who we've seen year in, year out, left peg, right peg, he can put it wherever he wants, edge of the box, 30 yards out. He has the ability. There's no excuse as to why it's not happening. It's clearly confidence.
So who's accountable then? Who's accountable? Is it the players? Is it the manager? System?
I actually think
it's coming together. I generally think that it's obviously I think Ange has to take some accountability. I think the way that we attacked against Arsenal was far too repetitive. Just get the ball out to the wings, cross it in.
But that was the same in the Newcastle game and the Leicester game.
That's the problem. I feel like when we attack, we need to change it up more. There needs to be more variation. But I feel like variation comes with quality attackers. If you have a top quality winger, you don't need to ask them to vary their forward play. They do it naturally. They're going to take on their man once and beat him, go straight to line, and then they're going to cut in the other side. But because we have players who are young and players that just haven't got that individual quality, they need to be taught it into them. They need to have the system that works for them in order to create those opportunities. And when it's not creating opportunities, as you can see, we lack the individual quality literally in our whole front five. Well, go on,
I also think though, the one issue with our defense, and I'm speaking to Henry and Jules here, but feel free the rest of the panel to jump in. I think if Saliba is in our defense instead of Romero, we don't suffer a defeat this season. I literally think it's that simple.
Yeah, but then you're asking for a uniform edge.
You don't suffer a defeat.
No, but because for me, honestly, with the way that we've played, I think it's unforgivable for someone who's been who's meant to be a World Cup winner. The lapses in concentration has been the reason why.
Sorry,
we
Deji,
have
did
to
you
answer
say
these bloody questions on these shows?
Sorry, Deji, did you say you'd go invincible if you had Saliba in your back line, or did I just mishear
said
you?
If we had Saliba instead of Romero, we wouldn't have lost the game this season.
Oh, sorry, apologies.
I thought you said you were
going to go invincible.
See, do you know what I would say? That again, this is the thing. Where I would disagree is I think if Mikel Arteta, no matter the game, no matter the scenario, played your high line, Arsenal would have lost the game so far this season. In fact, if Arsenal's yesterday, if their defensive line was at the halfway line away at Tottenham, the game wouldn't have ended 1-0 to Arsenal. And this is the thing. It's about, I think when you have a squad that is superior to everybody else in your league, as Big Ange did when he was in Scotland, as what sometimes happens, PSG have that advantage, but Bayern Munich typically have that advantage if you look over a 10, 15-year period in Germany. The Premier League is different. City have been clear of everybody in the last 4 or 5 years. But when you drop below that, the differences are often quite close, and you have to learn to adapt your system to be able to get through the Premier League, especially when, as you've all said, you don't have an amazing squad yet. So you need your manager, yes, to implement his style, but there are times where you need to be pragmatic. There are times where you need to adjust. This idea of we will just play one way all the time, every game. I just don't think it works when you're in such a competitive league.